Counter Range Theory Trader back with you with another video, just talking about what the best traders are using AI for. So let's not waste time to get right into it. The best way AI is being used for trading right now is in the way of income projections and risk management. How much money a person can stand to lose or make. Okay, so would you start a job or a business without knowing how much money you're going to make? I would hope not. So we go into this thing with a plan and we want to work the plan until we see it come to fruition. And as well, keep in mind too that anybody can trade. Trading is the easy part. Not everybody can manage risk. So that's what we're talking about here. So let's get right into it here. Now, I recommend using two AI sources against each other or multiple ones, as math can be tricky. Sometimes you'll get different answers. And these are some free AI programs. You don't have to pay a dime to do this, but you have Grok, which we'll be using on this video, but you also have ChatGPT, Google Gemini, ZAI. There's tons of others. So, just like I said, experiment with them. And you have to be good at telling the AI what you want it to do. So what you need to know in order to start this, to start to play with the numbers, is your starting account balance, your percentage of your losses. So in other words, if you have a $100 account and you risk $1 per trade, that's 1%. Okay. And if you don't know that, I'll show you how to walk through that because I'm not a math person. But you need to know the percentage of your losses, the percentage of your wins, and your estimated win rate. I say be realistic because I know some people brag about a 90 or 80% win rate. That's cool. If you Google the professionals on Wall Street, the guys that really do this for a living, that aren't bragging on social media, the average win rate is about 50%. Okay, and you even have millionaires out there who only win 30% of their trade too, and still do okay for themselves. So, but I'm going to get into that a little later. Now, here's a sample prompt that you can put into the AI that you use. Your account balance could be $200. Your wins pay 30 to 40%. Your losses take 3 to 15% with a 35% win rate. And then you just tell it to simulate the balance after 10 trades. Now, why do I use these big numbers? I do something that's called pyramiding. Okay. If you don't know what that is, the link is in the description for that. But that's the way I manage risk. I pyramid. Okay. So that's why I have big swings in my account. It's not for everybody, but that's the way I do it. Now, you have to personalize the approach, because if you just risk, say $10 to get $30 on 1 to 3 risk to reward ratio, then those are the numbers that you're going to want to put in respective to your account. So again, while I'm doing it for the way I trade, you have to take this and personalize it into the way that you do. And as well, for pyramiding, at least if you do experiment with it or try it, the bigger your balance, the less risk you actually should be taking. I wouldn't take these types of trades. I wouldn't try to lose 15% on a $10,000 account. That would not be my goal. Okay. That's why when the account's smaller, that's just to grow it at an exponential pace. And if you lose $200, oh, well, you just start over. Okay. So that's why that's like that. But I wouldn't have the same risk on $200. So I want to put that out there too. Don't risk a lot of money on big accounts. It's really not necessary. Okay. So let's do a live example and I'll show you how the experts are doing this now. So we'll head over to Grok. And what I like to do is prompt the AI to tell it what role I expect it to fulfill for the chat. So I just say you're an expert at trading Forex and a world-class risk manager with record-breaking returns. You're going to advise me on a risk management plan and show me the information in easy-to-read charts. Do you understand? It's going to say that it does, and yada yada yada. So that's I'm not going to read all that. So let's go ahead and do the live example here. So let's go back to our prompt and say, okay, what are we going to start with? So for this example, let's say I want to start with $200. Now, how much do I want to risk? Now, when you pyramid, you have to remember that you're only putting out your first entry is going to be a, this thing's still going. So I'm going to tell it to stop. I don't need all that. So, your risk is going to be a small portion of your account. So let's just say I want to risk $5 to see if I'm right before I start adding into the trade. So but I don't know what percent 5 is of 200. So all you have to do is Google stuff like that. Because like I said, I'm not a math person. I know a lot of people aren't, but I wanted to show you, you don't have to be intimidated by this, but I want to show you the easy actionable steps on how you can still make this work. So if I want to risk $5 out of my $200 account, then it's only 2.5%. So I need to let the AI know that when I losing trades, so if I do one entry and I lose, that's only 2.5% of my account. But if, let's say I add multiple entries, and I can add up to 4 to 5 positions. And let's say I want my worst case scenario to be $30. What percent of 30 is 200? And I just changed that and it's 15%, which is sizable. Okay, I'm not going to pretend like it isn't. This is a high risk strategy when you're starting out. So that's my worst case scenario, is at any given time, let's say I go 4 positions in as I pyramid and the trade loses, I try to keep my trading capped at losing 30 bucks. Okay, but I don't know what percentage, that's 15 bucks. So the AI knows, okay, well, this guy only wants to lose 15% of his account, worst case scenario. And I'm going to throw this in here too, of the account balance, because the balance will change. Okay. Now, when I win, let's remember that I'm taking $5 of risk per trade. And now let's say I trade 1 to 3. So 5 times 3 is 15. Okay. So let's just visualize this now. All right. And I'm going to type this out just so you guys understand where I'm coming from here. Because like I said, some people are visual and I don't want to leave you guys out. If I risk $5 and the trade wins on a 1 to 3, 5 times 3 is 15. Okay, so that's how much I can make on just one position. I'm taking 4 of them. So 4 entries. It's not going to be a perfect 15 all across the board, but I'm going to just say it is for the sake of ease of use, because my entries are close together when I do pyramid. At 15 bucks each, okay, is 60. That's $60 worth of profit that I stand to make if each trade pays out. Okay, just keeping it the same. All right. So what percentage is that though? What is 60? 60 is what percent of 200, because that's my account balance, because I need to keep them at percentages so that the AI can calculate it. So 60 is what percent of 200? It says that it is 15. Well, no, that's not right. Let me do enter. And that's 30%. A 30% payout. So 30% of the account balance I can make. Or sometimes if I do 1 to 4, let's say I may make 40% on a trade. But again, this is only because I pyramid. I may take multiple entries. Okay. So that's that. Now, what else do I need to tell the AI? My estimated win rate, let's say it's going to be 35%. And then I tell it to simulate after 10 trades. And you can always tell it keep the answer simple and the charts easy to read, because this thing, it does be, you know, kind of wordy. So if you have to tell it what you want, and it'll personalize itself to you. So it's going to go through all the rationale. We're not going to read all of that. Yada yada yada. Sample sequence. Now, see, I don't know what's up with these visualizations. I don't really care about that. And it's going to give you the key insights. Let's have it. This isn't really a chart that I care for, though. So let's say put the chart in a gain loss balance. Okay, so I told it to put the chart in columns and rows with gains, losses, yada, yada, yada. And let's see if it spits out what I wanted to see. There we go. So that's what I wanted. So, okay, so here we go. Let's take a look at this. And I'm glad we're doing this on the fly so you can see kind of how you have to navigate the AI. So, okay, the first trade was a loss and it was 8%, because remember the losses are between 2.5%, worst case 8%, right? So this would have been a $16 loss and my balance would have went down to 184. But then I have a 35% gain. So I made $64 and the new balance is 248. So let's see here. You can also ask a question. So out of this set of data, what was the biggest loss and biggest gain? And even though you can just as easily see that, you know, ask it, interact with it, you know. So I don't know why it's going through all that. It should have just answered very quickly. But the biggest loss was like biggest gain was 113, and the biggest loss is 52. Okay, and it's going to save all of this for you, right? So as long as your gains are bigger than your losers, I promise you can survive. Okay, but that's what the professionals do. They use technology and leverage it in order to help them get a picture of what they may be making. So you started with 200 just in this example, okay, and you ended up with 385. So you made 185 bucks in this data set. This is just ballpark though, okay? These numbers are not concrete, but what it's going to do is give you a framework to say, okay, when I take losses, my losses should be looking like 16 bucks, 25 bucks, 21 bucks, 25 bucks. But when I win, I should be making 64, I should be making 89, I should be making 113, okay? Things like that. So let's do one more example here because I don't want the video to be too long because we're always thinking long term. So let's say I'm going to copy the prompt up here. I guess because I told it was an expert, it wanted to give me all this extra stuff. But you know, if it does something you don't like, tell it not to do it, and it won't do it. Like this stuff here, I don't like that, so I'm just going to tell it to keep the charts with rows and columns. Let's see, where's my prompt at? There we go. Okay, so when we're long term now, let's say we eventually have I'll do a couple because I like thinking long term. So let's say we have a $5,000 account. Now remember I said that when the balance is bigger, our risk is smaller. So now we're going to only lose 1.5% of our account up to 10% because we're still pyramiding. So the losses can be bigger when you're pyramiding. Okay. We're going to keep the wins the same, 10 to 40%, and we're actually going to keep the win rate the same. But the only thing we've done is we've lowered our worst case scenario because, well, actually, oh, you know what? No, that wouldn't even be fair. We'll do 20 to 30%. We'll keep them both relative. Okay, so there you go. All right, so 1.5%, and just to check that to see if it's realistic. So we'll do what is, you know what I'm going to do? Let's do 1% actually, just to keep it simple. But I'm going to see if it's realistic. 1% of 5,000. And that's 50 bucks. Okay, so yeah, I would risk 50 bucks. That's fine. So okay, so 1% to 10% of the account balance. Okay, so but actually, you know what? Yeah, that's fine. All right, and then the wins can be 20 to 30%. Win rate is 35, and then we go ahead and I'm going to remind it to keep the charts in. Keep the chart format in rows and columns like it just did. So when it does something that you like, tell it, okay, that's good. And then we let it go through its deal there, yada, yada, yada. Okay, and at the end of this trading exercise, right, we've lowered our risk, we've lowered our profit targets, etc. And then we ended up with 8,685 bucks. So that was great. Okay, 73% return. Again, this is just ballpark though. All right. This is just ballpark. Let's take a look at our losses here though, losses and wins. And one should be much bigger than the other. So this right here was that $250 loss, 25% gain, 6% loss. Okay, the biggest loss here was, looks like it was 8% at $755. But at that time, you almost had 10 grand. So you still ended in profit. All right, you still ended in profit. So the last thing I'll do now is we'll do a $10,000 account and end with that because we always have something to shoot for. So we'll take the starting balance here. You just copy it. And we kept our win rate the same too, 35%. I was not shooting for the stars. I lost more trades than I won in this example, but still ended up making money. So now let's see how it looks with 10 grand. We're going to risk 0.5%. And let's see how that looks. What is 0.5% of 10,000? So on our tester entries, looks like it's the same. So you know what? Let's do 1%. which is 100. That's doable. All right, so let's do that. I think we still took the risk down a little bit, but either way, yeah, we did. And we'll try to keep it at 10%, and the wins are going to be between 10% and 20%. Okay, that's the payout. Everything else is going to be the same because as the balance gets bigger, your risk gets smaller. And even though your profits are smaller from a percentage standpoint, remember that easy 10% of 10,000 is a grand. So that means at this point you can make $1,000 in one trade. Okay, so that's why you lower it. Okay, because you have more money now, so you don't need to take these crazy risks to grow the account. So okay, so we spit that out and let's see what we got. And that's a part again of managing risk. These types of things just come with time and experience. Okay, it's kind of like you're sometimes you can take more risk when you're young, but when you get older, you're not still out there, cliff diving and doing all this high risk behavior because you're older. So you don't really have to. You're more experienced. Okay, but here's the chart. Let's see here. We ended up with $12,443. So we made a couple grand, which is fine. Our biggest day on this example was about almost 2 grand we made in one day. And our biggest loss was $1,082. Okay. But you still made a couple grand off of this. So compare this biggest day. I'm just curious now. And you can ask it. So let's just ask it. I'm just trying to show, I want to show you what this is capable of. What was the biggest winning and losing days on the 5,000 and 10,000 accounts? Keep answer tell me the numbers. Okay, because sometimes it'll go on and on, so I have to tell it. Okay, I want to know the biggest winning and losing days instead of scrolling back up. I just want to say, okay, what were the biggest and losing days on those two accounts that I did, and just tell me the answer. Don't go on and on. There we go. Okay, so on the $5,000 account, the biggest win was almost 2 grand. The biggest loss was $755. Biggest win on this day was $1,764. Biggest loss was $1,000. So this gives you just an idea of what you could be looking at. This could be what the future could hold for you if you become a good risk manager. And if you don't feel like this is a good enough return, then play with the risk. Okay, these numbers aren't concrete. You change them until you find the goal that you want to shoot for. This way, this gives you a map to try to get to the destination. I don't know what your goals are. Maybe you just want to make $50 a day. Maybe you want to make $1,000 in a day. Either way, this helps you get there though. But you got to know where you're going. Okay, you got to know where you're heading and have a vision, write the vision down, and then you have something to work for instead of just taking random trades. Okay, so let's wrap this up with the slideshow. So, in conclusion, if you do not understand and master risk management, your chances of making consistent, keyword consistent income are slim to none. Here's what's going to happen to you, I promise, if you don't take the time to manage your risk and know what type of money you can be making. You're going to stay stuck in a boom bust cycle. No different than someone sitting at a slot machine hoping for a payout. If you've ever seen those degenerate gamblers at Vegas, they just feed constant quarters into that machine and pull the lever, pull the lever. That's going to be you sitting at a chart. You'll get a payout. I'm not saying you won't make any money, but I'm saying that the money that you do make is going to go away. Then you're right back in the slot machine, pulling, 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 hoping. All right. Is that the life that you want for yourself? Or do you want to have a concrete plan and say, you know what? I put together this plan, and I'm going to put myself in a position where I can make at least $1,000 a day. At least, right? But that won't come until you learn how to manage your risk, not press buy and sell, manage risk. When you manage risk, that's when you're in the top 1%, not when you become a trader, when you become a risk manager. I know these videos don't get a lot of views. The videos that can put the most money in your pocket on this channel have the least amount of views, which I find interesting because people love indicators, but they're not a big fan of risk management. I don't know if it's the math. I don't know what it is, but I'm trying to give you the blueprint for success. Nobody can walk that path for you. You have to do it for yourself. So you're welcome to join us on this journey for the serious folks that are out there. And I know some of you are real serious about this. You treat your trading like a business. That's who this video is for. You're going to see this video. Your eyes are wide and already your wheels are turning. You need to go ahead and stop the video now. Go start up an AI and start playing with the numbers. Don't let the math intimidate you. If you're not sure about something, just Google it. But this is the time. All right. So I hope I lit a fire under you to, like I said, if you want to spearmint on demo, do whatever you got to do to get out of where you are. All right. So I appreciate your time and attention. I thank you for watching and I hope you have a great rest of your day.